Hey, welcome back to Never Is Funny. My name's Patrick O'Connell, and this is the last episode of the series. Thank you to everyone who's been listening. It's been so cool to do this, to be, revive what started out as a university local radio show, make it a podcast. It's been great fun. We recently passed 500 plays. I think we're coming up on 600 soon, which is exciting. It's really, really cool. So who have I got for you this time? Well, it's someone very exciting. She's a prolific comedian. Up and coming, definitely, I would say. Already pretty successful, performing at Fringe again for the nth time this year. She's done stand-up, she's done music. We talk about a song she did once called Gun Mouse, that's pretty fire if you ask me. And as usual, we talk about a bucket load of stuff. We talk about the usefulness, or lack thereof, of personas in stand-up. She gives a bunch of great advice for budding comedians. And she starts a feud with, I think, at least 3 people or entities. And, beef's always good for raising podcast numbers. One thing we talk about that's worth mentioning is her own vocalness when it comes to speaking about things like trans issues. The cast report comes up. If you don't know what that is, it's worth looking into. Basically, something that was released for the NHS, and it's had some pretty horrible consequences, which include pretty heavily a massive pullback on the prescription of puberty blockers. We're talking to the point where in England, it's only in clinical trials, and it's been paused completely in Scotland. It's horrifying. It's a real fucking blow to a community that have worked so fucking hard just to get where they are. But it's not all negative, which is, again, something we talk about in this. Her current show, which is going to be at Fringe, is all about trans joy, which is fantastic. Something that's very needed, and something that already exists, despite what a lot of newspapers might tell you. I would like to plug a charity that I've had for a long while now, just in the bio of my personal Instagram, called Mermaids. It's a British charity that has been around since 1995. They provide all kinds of support for families and young people who are navigating gender issues and navigating the healthcare that they may need for that. They do great work. And if you could even check them out, or better yet, toss them whatever you can, money-wise, that'd be great. But anyway, this episode is, as mentioned, all about my guest Alex Franklin. So let's get right to her. Welcome back to the show, where I talk to comedians in the know. That's right. It's never as funny. It's never as funny. The show's it's called Never As Funny. It's the name of the show, by the way. Never As Funny. That's the gist of it, the name. The show's called Never. This is like the title music. It's called Never As Funny. All right, welcome back to the show. This is Never As Funny. As you already know, I'm Patrick, and my guest this week is stand-up comedian Alex Franklin. And it's very exciting for me because this is the first time I've done this where I'm meeting someone for the first time on call, which is very nice because it has felt slightly nepotistic in the past, because at the very least they've all been acquaintances so far.
We're like the bane of the comedy industry.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'll bring my friends in, it's fine, it's alright.
But yeah, would you like to, introduce yourself? I already said your name, stole that from you. But...
you snake, you villain. Hello, my name's Alex Franklin. I am a comedian by trade, and I do a bunch of silly things. It's like, I think you said stand-up, which I do, but I also do like the most alternative stuff as well. I do quite a lot of I do a lot of like musical things as well, and too many, I don't know, I just be a little freak. That's kind of the deal.
That's perfect. I should have introduced you with that. That would have been a perfect little tagline.
The little freak or whatever and stuff.
I think there might be a mild delay, which means, and also I'm ADHD as hell, so I might accidentally talk over you a few times, so absolutely feel free to just shut me up.
Oh my god, no. I mean, same, like gang, like ADHD gang as well, so I totally relate. And if I do the same, just shut me up as well, because I don't notice things, so.
Will do. Okay, so sometimes I like to introduce guests with a little silly trait or story, and you sent me, the quote is, I don't know, I once spent a week sleeping in a library lol.
Yes.
Is there much to elaborate on?
No, not really.
There must be. Was it by choice?
Yeah, yeah. I think the assumption is it'd be for revision. It wasn't for revision. I just wanted to stay in a library for a week.
That's brilliant.
And then
just a big fan of books.
I think it was like when I graduated or whatever, I went to go visit some people and they like offered accommodation on their floor and I tried it and I was like, you know what, the floor is actually quite grim. I've actually come to not be a fan of the floor. So I thought, where's a good location? And I was like, I don't go here anymore, but I could probably just stay in the kind of like the college library, like no one's gonna notice. And so I slept in there's a room called the film and media room, which no one goes to because in the library no one gets out DVDs anymore. So I just like stayed there, and it's like a 24-hour library. Like basically, I went in there, shut the door, no one walked in because it was like the start of, I guess, the year, so no one was like revising or anything.
God.
And I just like slept there. I had made a little beanbag fort. It was actually really good. I had guests over. That was fun.
Little house party.
Yeah, no, it was great. And also every time at like 6:30 a.m. I was like, oh, I don't want to, or like 7 a.m. I was like, okay, the librarians might be a bit confused if they find me, just in case they do a sweep. So I always made sure to like get up and sneak out just before that, for at least a little bit, and then I come in and go back to bed. There was one time I was walking out and they were walking in, and they just looked so confused, like I'd been like, I think they thought I was just really studious, staying there overnight, rather than I didn't go there at all. I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's kind of the deal of what happened. It was a fun time. I rode the elevator up and down. That was fun. So.
I was going to say that sounds brilliant. I think I quite like the idea of a little library holiday.
Oh my god.
Sounds like a good
You've got to try it, genuinely. You've got it. It's so good.
We should.
Yeah, and we're in the middle of a housing crisis.
Yeah, a little plug for that.
Little plug.
Mm.
Yes, I guess that's that. I kind of like didn't know what to, because you're like, what's a silly thing you've done? And I was like, oh, I don't know what constitutes a silly thing, but I also am aware that I like do a lot of things that I think could be described as silly, I guess.
It is a broad question. Yeah, I mean, it's not far off like being in some group circle and getting asked for a fun fact, which I always struggle with massively.
Yeah, because, okay, sometimes it's like you give a fun fact and then everyone else has a better fact and then you feel really awkward. I think what's like more awkward is sometimes when you give a fact that like is so insane that it immediately ostracizes you from the group, because they're like, like let's say you start and you say something like the library thing, and then the next person says, I have a cat or whatever, and you're like, oh fuck, oh, this is my vibe for the rest of the time hanging with these people.
Off.
Yeah, that's cool. I hope that answers the question. I don't know.
It's great. I mean, anything really. It can vary in intensity. I think my second guest I had on a long while ago, their one was that they sometimes pronounce the word paracetamol in different ways. So it can, there's scales of excitement with these, really.
What a coward. Who is it? I'm coming for them.
It was comedian Isabel Lowe. We should go listen to right now.
Okay. Don't listen to her. Don't listen
or right after. Right after.
Or listen to it and then leave like a little hate comment saying, Alex sent me here. Alex says you're a coward. Isabel, Alex says you're a coward. I want her to be the cat. I want her to follow us for the rest of her life. That's
fucking brilliant. I need more beef on this show, I think.
I love starting beef for no reason. It's my favorite thing in the world.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm fascinated by, so the stand-up, definitely circle back to that, but you mentioned musicals and things. I mean, do you sing?
Yeah. So I do a lot of like comedy music stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, not all the time. I like just like bits and pieces. I just kind of was like, oh, it's quite nice to do. And I was like, oh, I guess I can sing and I can play the piano. So I was like, I might as well.
Of course.
It felt weird that I was like hiding these things that I could use.
Yeah.
I like the idea that like, oh, the world couldn't take it. The world couldn't take my grade 4 keyboard ability or whatever. But yeah, just like music stuff as well. I did a lot of like singing stuff when I was younger for some weird reason. Like a lot of like weird choir stuff. And I kind of hated it, but but it was useful. And now I have, dare I say, a talent.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what's an example of, I don't know, a musical comedic piece you've come up with? You don't have to perform it, don't worry.
Oh, fuck. Okay. So I have a song called Gun Mouse, which is a 5-minute song about a mouse with a gun. And it goes, she's a mouse with a gun and she fends off villain and rival with sword dog. And then they battle, and then they go back in time. And then they go, and then they meet, and then there's a whole showdown and stuff. It's an interesting piece that critics might describe as too long, but
yeah, what do they know? All you had to do was mention the words gun mouse and immediate 5 stars for me. That's incredible. It sounds like the kind of book I would have been obsessed with as a kid. Gun mouse and sword dog.
Oh yeah. No, we love the adventures of Gun Mouse and Sword Dog. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Although having said that, there was a song released a few months ago by this band called like Ninja Sex Party called Galaxy Hamster.
Oh, I know Ninja Sex Party. Yeah.
Yeah, they released Galaxy Hamster, and I was fuming because it was like an exact plot of Gunmouse, and I was like, Jesus Christ, I've lost my main IP. This is infuriating.
That's a better beef to start. We've already done Sketch Comedian is Elo. I think it's time to move on to taking down Ninja Sex Party.
Yeah.
It's an official call-out post.
I've won that first feud, so I can move on to the second. Dan Avidan and I think Brian Beck, I think? I don't know.
Brian Beck, yeah. It is Brian. I was going to say Brian May, which is 100% not right.
I hope so one day that they just like bring him in just to be like...
Good guest star. So do you have like a central thing? I'm an ex-comedian.
I don't know. I feel like if I put a thing there, it kind of limits the sort of, I guess, audience I'd get to interact with, or the sort of stuff that I can do, because it's like, I don't think there's anything that's like accurately describes the vibe I'm doing. And also it's like, in the future, if I want to be different than that, I don't want to have labeled myself as like a musical comedian or something, because it's like inherently puts you in a box of people who like only search for that thing. And let's say if people are like, don't like musical comedian, are going to see your show, and then you actually just going to like stand up or whatever, but then they're like, oh, musical comedian, I'll be like, oh god, or whatever. And then people who like that might have the expectation that I am going to do that, which isn't necessarily what will happen. And so I don't want to disappoint them with that.
Yeah.
I think I just kind of like, I kind of genuinely do like the vibe of just being a bit silly on stage, and that's kind of how I think of it.
Yes.
I think any gravitas you sort of add makes it a bit like OTT and seems like you're trying to like big yourself up, whereas I'm just like, yeah, I don't know, I'll do whatever I can think will be funny, or like...
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a good place to be. So, you've been advertising a lot on your Instagram, you're doing, are you doing a Fringe show?
Yeah.
Yes. I was about to say right now, and then I remember the Edinburgh Fringe isn't happening right now, so I don't know what I was talking about there, really.
I could start, I could do one, I could do it every day up until then.
You could. Set up your own one, then you're the only performer, which sets you at a big advantage. Have you done Fringe before?
Yeah, I've done it a few times. Oh, I've done it since lockdown ended. I did, what was it, 2022. I did like a sketch show with these two people it was called like Chuck Salmon Pool Noodles.
Okay.
And it was like weird narrative sketch show. Basically, it was like set in a world where lifeguards are like the rock stars of that like world. And there's this kid called Kenny Shallows who basically gets lifeguarding school and wants to be the best lifeguard ever, except he's like terrible and can't swim. So it's like sort of underdog, but not really underdog the story. And then like I also did a show called like Dinosaur Sisters, which was like a weird, oh god, it was like a show where the premise was there's a dinosaur who's brought back from the dead into the future to stop climate change because he has prior experience, and so then he goes into space and I think he blows up the world in the end or something. It's a whole it's like, and I did one the year after that, and I guess before that I had did like student trips to Fringe. I did one with like the sketch group at my university, and we did like a show.
Yes.
And then I guess maybe random plays before that and stuff as well.
Oh, brilliant. So yeah, that's quite a bit of experience then with Fringe performing.
Yeah, I guess for Fringe specifically. It's weird because I'm like, I know a lot about that, but I think I started like comedy and I guess like theatre stuff. Not necessarily late, but later than I think the other people who were doing it at the same time as me. And I think that was like quite theatrical, comedy heavy people. Like I remember at uni, people would be like already doing loads of gigs.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And I maybe started like second year, kind of just being like, oh, let's do this or let's do this, see what happens. Yeah, I guess that's the vibe.
Yeah. No, I've had that experience as well. I mean, I did GCSE drama a bit, but going to university and getting into this stuff, it can be pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
When you start doing shit and you meet people who've been like, well, yes, I've been doing this my entire life and I seek to continue it.
Yeah.
But
no, it's weird. A lot of these people came from like, I don't want to say like dynasty family. They were like, oh, my dad does this, or my mum does this, or my dad's this producer, or this, and I was like, my dad is an accountant.
Yes.
So, and my mum worked at the M&S checkout. So I don't think it's very like, I guess a bit isolating as an environment to like get used to stuff. I felt like quite behind, but also I'm aware of like the privilege I had growing up as well, being just like middle class.
Oh yeah, of course. Same.
Yeah, although having said that, we also, I think there was a real issue with like diversity when we were doing it at university, and especially comedy. Basically, so I'm like half Chinese, and there were, I think, not many people doing at least sketch comedy at that point, and then it slowly increased while I was there. Like me and a lot of people tried to like push it more. But I definitely remember in like at the very end of first year, which is like the first thing I kind of ever did, because I was like, oh, why not? And by virtue of me being in it, it made it the most like ethnically diverse sketch show
Right, yeah.
of the year. And they normally have an insane amount at so I went to like Cambridge. They have like an insane amount there. They have like too many. Maybe like one every 2 weeks or something. There's probably a sketch show in some form.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Does that make sense? I just want a big ramble of like...
Oh no, it definitely does. I was just thinking I relate. I mean, obviously, I'm in the lucky position of being, at least presenting as a very standard white guy, so I get the benefit of being like, yes, these problems do exist, but they don't happen to me.
I'll just be like, wow, that sounds rough. Anyway, yeah, just like moving on.
That's a tough one, champ. But yeah, I mean, diversity definitely was an issue. I went to Durham.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, there was some diversity there, but it was that thing of it clearly wasn't enough because it was still a standout thing when someone wasn't part of the main group.
Yeah.
Like it was a big identifier.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awesome that you were pushing for that and stuff at Cambridge.
Thank you. I'm very morally upstanding. Oh, I'm very... I'm the people's champ. Yeah. If people take anything away from this, is that I'm the people's champ. That's what I want people to know.
The people's champ.
Yeah.
Little Freak and People's Champ are both good. Possibly should redo the intro with both of those.
If you do it, I'm gonna like do a complete 180 for no reason. Just be like, whoa, that's so uncalled for, man. To be like, I do stand-up comedy, I'll have you know. Do not disrespect the art form, but I get really serious and I suddenly like just do a complete tonal shift.
I mean, it'd be good listening, that's for sure.
Yeah, but...
I think I noticed when I was browsing your Instagram, was it a Glasgow comedy?
I did Glasgow Comedy Festival recently. So there's like Edinburgh Fringe, but there's also other festivals and fringes. There's like Leicester Comedy Festival, Brighton Fringe, Glasgow Comedy Festival. And in most cities, they have them sort of about the place.
Yeah.
London used to have Vault Festival, but that kind of got shut down. They probably have something instead. But like, yeah, I that was just me essentially trying like work in progress shows.
Yes.
Wanted to like figure out which bits of the show are good in various locations and just traveling around being like, maybe this place, and then just seeing if they like it.
That's very exciting. So the show you're actually working on at the minute for Friend, how recent is that?
Yes, since October-ish. I've been like started writing stuff. Yeah, like October is like me and my like director Dom. He's called like a guy called Dom Stevens. Super lovely, super funny. Also has like loads of directing experience and stuff. Started just talking about what he wants to do, and I was like, a lot of feels weird being like fans, but fans of work that I've done in the past or have talked to me like post shows have been like gender non-conforming or like trans.
Yes.
Yeah, and a lot of them are like quite young as well. And so I think part of me was like, I want to do a show that is kind of more for them and kind of gets the idea of like trans joy across.
Yeah.
And so I think there's two aims of it are being like, oh, something that they can be happy about, like a show that they can watch, be like experience something in today's society they don't really get to experience that much. Like I think there's a lot of like transphobia coming from like the UK government. So like the cast report just dropped like yesterday, which is an insanely transphobic piece of garbage. That is, I did a degree in like biological and biomedical sciences, so I often like look at these things and I'm like, oh fuck, this is such bullshit. But
yeah, I mean, I didn't, but agree.
Yeah.
You have the support of someone of maths and computer science uni dropout behind you, so I hope that's bolstering.
Huge. Okay, I bet you're good at puzzles. That's good. Yeah, I want to do something to like support them, even if it's just like a little bit, and also for like cis people to show with like a lot of these when we talk about like trans people, often we talk about in these very like I guess cold or scientific or very like political ways of just being like talking about trans people and almost like they're not in the room and also that they're not people. And I think I wanted to do a show that essentially tackles the idea of like, yeah, okay, there are all these scientific arguments that support trans people and all these philosophical and social and ethical arguments. There is an argument of just like trans people feel happy that they get to be trans.
Yeah.
And so I want to just show the people behind the topic that's become this weird, like, I guess, culture war for a bunch of angry transphobes and TERFs stuff. And just show it's like, hey, it's like there are people here and they smile and laugh and enjoy sunlight and things. And now that they get to experience being trans, they get to, I don't know, feel happiness they might not have felt before.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. No, definitely. I mean, I think... Sorry, my mind's gone slightly blank now.
Oh, no, don't worry. No, it's fine. I was going to make a joke being like, and this is where you start your tirade and being like, I hate trans people. Being like, and it just... They're so arrogant. They're too silly. I hate how silly they are.
Oh, I wish that was the fucking issue.
So-
I wish the major transphobe talking point was trans people are too silly.
They're too silly. They're not serious. They can't. They're not good in a cinema. They talk too much or whatever. Just like they laugh too loud.
Yeah, that would be good. How long is your show, out of curiosity? Because I've experimented a bit with stand-up, something I'd like to do a lot more. My experience of it so far has been pretty much exclusively like 5-minute set.
Yes.
What type of length are you talking about?
So it's about probably like 55 minutes. Probably 50 minutes, 55 minutes.
Okay.
I think. We'll add or take away bits that feel good or are not working, and it won't go over an hour. It'll be longer than 45 minutes.
Yes. How structured are you with it? Like, is it a thing you tend to write out and stick to, or is it a bit more improv-y?
Pretty structured. I think I have like more background in just like sketch comedy where you just essentially like learn your lines
Yes.
and things. I mean, there's improv elements, but we never did that. So I think I'm inherently used to more structure. Having said that, I often need like 5 minutes or so at least just to be like, okay, I know I'll have time to riff if I want to.
Yes.
So I can just talk about stuff. A lot of the work in progress stuff is also like I intentionally run under so that I can just catch it in the room for like 10 minutes if need be.
Yeah.
Because I might want to try something or something might get a laugh. And I'm like, you know what, I can just expand on this in a moment. Because it's that thing of trying to write on stage. Yeah, you know, the idea of just being like, oh, I said this joke and it got a response. That's kind of like an invitation to keep saying more. So I'm going to try and keep saying more until it feels like it's dying a death. And then I'll be like, okay, let's go back to something that works.
Yes.
Yeah.
How has it been so far, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah.
With audience response and things, what's it been like?
Good, really good.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, I'm feeling very positive around it, which is a good sign. There's more weight to it than previous stuff I've done in terms of like, oh god, I want it to land because there's more than just like me in mind. But it's been going well. The ending is like semi-emotional, and so it's like I have made people cry.
Oh, brilliant.
I didn't.
Or brilliant feels like a weird way. But
I know, this is my thing. It feels awkward to be like, like, yay, I made them cry, and it's like, oh no, that feels mean or something. I know it's not. It's because they actually enjoyed it, but I was like,
yeah.
It's something I'm, I guess, a bit awkward with. Yeah, it's going well though. There's like bits of it that are like I think are really funny and do pretty good. I'd say the start is really strong. The end is really strong. There's about 5-10 minutes that it's like okay. Then there's like a good bit. Then there's about 15 minutes of like I would say absolute dog shite. And then maybe not. Maybe I'm being harsh on myself. I just think it could be better there. But yeah.
Getting reactions like that is what I find very addicting about the bits of stand-up I've done, or any performance really, that got reactions like laughter. I haven't hit tears yet, but yeah, it's incredible to see that. Are you confident now with receiving responses like that, or is it still kind of like, how do you feel on stage? I don't know, when people are crying at the end.
I don't know. I kind of only focus on me. I think it's like I don't know. I think I feel fine. I think like I've never had anyone openly sob or
Right.
whatever. It was only just a couple of times where they just kind of like a few people like tearing up and then someone having to like just take a moment or whatever in a good way.
Yeah.
But no one's been like wailing in the front row because I feel that I would not know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
I think I probably would just stop the show and just be like, hey, you doing all right? It's okay. We can continue if you want or not and stuff.
Perfect opportunity for some crowd work.
Yes. Use an opportunity to roast the front row to be like,
That's brilliant. That's very exciting. What types of venues are you doing for these work in progress shows?
comedy venues or just theatre venues, wherever there's like a good profit margin, to be honest, that is like also a good room because we kind of need semi lighting and also projector is like a kind of a necessary thing for the show and like I guess audio stuff. And I mean, there's a budget way we can do it, but it's just a faff. So like the last work in progress I did before Glasgow was at a place called like the Glit in London. It's in like Waterloo and it's like this small 30-seater room, which is quite nice because it's quite easy to sell out. So you can kind of like use that.
Yes.
But I'm also I think I'm going to Brighton and doing it in a place called like Actors Theatre, which I think is just a theatre. Yeah, I think it depends. I think it's not the sort of show where it does best like a room above a pub. It's like the sort of show that like has a bit of ambience to it. So
yeah,
a kind of black box space would be ideal, but also that's kind of a luxury in like the world of comedy. So a lot of the time it's just like whatever we can get.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm interested about, you say we, so you mentioned a director and some audio visual stuff. Like what sort of team have you got?
So it's me, my like director, and he helped like co-devise it as well. He's called like Dom Steven, lovely boy. And then I'm with a production company called Objectively Funny, who is like essentially producing the show.
Okay.
And oh my god, they're super good. They're run by this guy called like Martin Willis, who is incredible. He's really into ethical production of shows and also doing so in a way that protects artists' well-being and mental health.
Brilliant.
That's a whole issue.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. Oh my god, especially like Edinburgh and all these like festivals and things. But yeah, so it's basically it's just a team of 3, I guess, at the moment. Having said that, I definitely use like the royal we way too much. I just be like, we, and then they're like, who is we? And I'm like, me.
That's brilliant. I mean, I'm guilty of that as well. I do that a lot with this show just to, I don't know, it feels slightly more professional. I tend to caption like the Instagram posts about each episode with things like, this week Patrick talks to his guest.
Yeah, no, def.
To sort of give the impression that, you know, from some big production team.
Yeah, it makes it seem like you're just simply the happy-go-lucky face of the organization, and there's like a bunch of like minions underneath you.
Oh, exactly, yeah. I said stool, but I've actually got a bunch of lackeys holding up this laptop right. They're doing a good job.
Imagine you're in like a pile of like thousands, like literally thousands. It's like those, you know, it's like towers of people they get in Italy when they have that. I think it's in Italy where they have to like touch the top of the tower and they all like climb on top of each other or something. You know that?
No.
Oh, it's insane.
No,
You gotta check it out.
The towers of people in Italy.
I think it's Italy where they just like, there's just like a big handkerchief or something is hung from like a rope really high above, and it's just thousands of people, and whoever gets the handkerchief wins. And it's like this big event where they just like, they all swarm en masse and they all like start climbing over each other.
Oh my god.
I don't know why it exists, but it's funny. So
that's fucking brilliant. I'm checking that out. No, I'd never heard of the Italian People Tower. That's brilliant.
I say that this might just be complete bullshit from me, and this was just a dream, but I think it's true.
Italy update. This is an Italy update. Is Alex right about the human tower? Let's find out. The answer is yes. So I just found on Wikipedia. It's called a castel. Here's what they say on the good old Wikipedia. They say, a castel, literally castle in Catalan, is a human tower built traditionally at festivals in a part of Catalonia, brackets, Spain. Now also found in the rest of Catalonia, in the Balearic Islands and in the Valencian community. At these festivals, several calles castelleres, I shouldn't have attempted that, teams that build towers, attempt to build and then dismantle a tower structure. On the 16th of November 2010, castels were declared by UNESCO to be amongst the masterpieces of the oral and intangible heritage of humanity. Goddamn. Alright. Well, Italy update. This has been an Italy update.
I do think this happened.
I really hope so. Second Italy update. RE Spain update. Alex was correct, however, this was not in Italy. It was, as in fact I mentioned and didn't notice as I was saying it, in Catalonia in Spain. Alex, you fraud. Italy update. RE Spain update. This has been an Italy update. RE Spain update. I wanted to ask a bit about the team thing because that intrigued me. You mentioned a bit about the audio visual stuff, how like it's not always there, but it's great when you can get it set up. How much do you use that in your show?
Well, it depends, actually. So the gun mouse thing I talked about earlier, that tells the story with the visuals at the same time. So it's kind of like semi-crucial to it. And it's got about 90 slides in about 5 minutes or whatever.
Oh, right.
It's basically a slide every bar. And then I think the show I did last year, Edinburgh, had 400 cues in the span of an hour.
Oh, right.
It was a lot. It was too much, if anything. And arguably, some of them not worth it, but they were in there. Whereas this one is like, it's not that bad. It's like 70 cues. Most of them are just slides of like me showing things. I think it depends on what the thing is I'm doing. The first show I did at like Dinosaur Sisters one, like the first solo show, that I didn't use any slides. I just did everything in paper because it kind of fit the format better.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a show about like ADHD and stuff. And I there was this effect. Basically, I did like this whole timeline bit and then this like mathy bit. And because that paper got strewn on the floor and it was kind of like a visual representation.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm very artsy. I don't know if it came across in the show, actually. I think people were just like, ha, 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 a silly dinosaur. But yeah, that's the vibe of it, I guess.
Was it, you said 400 cues for the last one?
Yes, 400 cues.
Did you ever have issues with, I don't know, hitting them on time or tricking them or stuff like that?
Yeah, sometimes. So I had a tech person to help. It was Amelia for the first half of the Fringe, and then a boy called Josh for the second half, and they're both super lovely. There was no expectation that they would hit all the cues every single time. Because I was like, sometimes they did, and I was like, oh, fair. But like when stuff goes wrong, I kind of believe in, what was it? I think Zach and Vigo of like Stamp Down have this like kind of philosophy of just being like, and I think they probably got this from like Gaudier or whatever, like that weird French clown school that everyone goes to. But it's the idea that like when stuff goes wrong, it's actually a good thing.
Yes.
But you don't intentionally try and make stuff goes wrong. But when stuff goes wrong, it's funny, so you can play into the stuff going wrong, and you kind of try and get it back on track, but in kind of a silly way, and it adds new jokes to the show.
Yes, definitely.
Like, I don't know, you've seen like a play, I presume, where stuff has like gone wrong, and it's a really serious play, but it's so funny.
Yes.
When
I've been in them.
Oh yeah, oh my god, they're great. I have this pet love of students and or amateur productions of the play And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie.
Ah, okay.
Because it's like a murder mystery, and often it needs to be done in like the space of an hour or whatever, or it's a shortened time frame. There's so many cues and there's so many deaths that inevitably something goes wrong, and it's always so funny. Oh, I remember, okay, there was one at uni where I died so hard watching this. There was one where basically it starts with like two people cleaning or whatever, and a person's supposed to come on, like the boatman or whatever, was supposed to come on and bring in a guest, and he just didn't. So they just did 15 minutes of cleaning, like on stage. It was so good. All the deaths, also because they were all like students and like amateurs. None of them knew how to like die effectively, and they have to die so fast.
Yeah.
So they would like walk around being like, "Oh, I feel perfectly fine. I don't think there's anyone that could have poisoned me," and then just like keel over like that. And I was like, "That is so funny."
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of that. I guess it's like that's the whole basis for like the play that goes wrong and things, which I think was based on another show, but I can't remember the name of the first show it was based on.
Leading into that is definitely a skill, because there's the sort of two spectrums of it. If you go too far in the direction of being rigid, then something goes wrong and you just collapse and nothing happens.
Yeah.
But also I've done this myself in my second stand-up gig. I did the thing of leaning too hard into it not going so well.
Yeah.
And making the, wow, this one isn't landing, huh, guys, joke about 6 times in a row.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a balancing act.
Yeah. I think it's like, if you do that, I think you can only ever do it once. If you say like a bit didn't work, you can never say a second bit didn't work. And also you got to be really careful about how you do it. I think, if anything, I guess it depends on your persona, but I guess for me, I always felt it's like, I think it's better, rather than acknowledging something didn't go well, to like try it again as if everyone else is. It depends on a bit. If it's like an alternative gig, you can kind of like try stuff again, or you can kind of like join them and just be like, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Or like kind of mark they'll be like weirder from there. Yeah, I think there's an art to it. It's almost like, because you're also interacting with people. I think it's almost like reading the room and being like, if you can interact with certain people and bounce off them depending on what you want to do. I don't know. Yeah, it's a weird one. I try not to like intentionally get stuff wrong, or I think it's like, okay, it's like when stuff goes bad, actually, I think it's probably best to like not acknowledge it and to brush over it, because then you lose the confidence of the audience. But if stuff goes wrong, which is different, that's like when the thing doesn't actually work, like a tech cue or a sound cue or a visual thing, or it's a sketch and someone drops a line or whatever. That's fine to play with, I think. That's my internal philosophy. I don't know how other people feel.
No, that definitely makes sense. The difference, I think, is when something goes wrong, like a cue or that, it doesn't feel as much on you.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like you're joking along with the audience. Whereas when you personally, I say you, I mean you in general, obviously, screw something up, then you don't want to sort of give that sense of desperation that you're trying to get the audience on side, because that never goes down very well.
Yeah, because it's kind of like I think a lot of people starting out like do that because it's like an easy laugh, and it's like a definite laugh in that situation of you feel very, very vulnerable, but it's like a trick to go for it. Like it's like temptation. It's like the devil tempting you with like an easy get out. When really, to be honest, a lot of the time if something doesn't land, if you riff a little, you can sometimes tunnel your way into getting a laugh. I can't remember who says this. There's some comedian who like basically, I think I'm stealing this from like comedian podcasts, but some comedian basically is like, oh, I just keep going until I get a laugh, and then normally one comes eventually.
Yes.
So I'm like, oh, you can just do that if you're stuck. Having said that, obviously there's like skill and it takes time and there's art to it and it's hard, but I think that's a better route personally.
Yeah, that's definitely a good philosophy. I'm interested in I find this really fascinating with every stand-up or any kind of stage performance, really. You mentioned like persona and things. How close is you to stand-up you?
I don't know. I mean, I guess like, I'm not sure how much I buy into the idea of persona. It's kind of like a traditional idea, like when you start out, you're like, oh, you have to develop your comic persona, and I get that. It's kind of like the audience has to be aware who you are on stage. I think there's exceptions to that, but they have to know what your vibe is,
Right.
how you interact with things, like that sort of thing. But I think my issue with people talking about persona is they have this idea of like they try and come up with what they think could be like a funny character,
Yes.
almost, and that's not really going to work for them. In the short term, it doesn't always come across well, but even it does, like in the long term, it's just like unsustainable. Like, what was it? Like my friend, he's called like Hen Chang. He does like comedy stuff, fucking incredible. But he did, I think, one of the like a BBC comedy things ages ago, and it went really, really well for him. And he has this bit essentially about killing two birds with one stone. He does it in a very terse way, and it's very like emotionless and deadpan and very like methodical.
Right.
And then he did that, and then now he's literally like, I can't do a sustained bit like that ever. Like I can't do more than 5 minutes like that because it just becomes like not believable, and I don't know where to take it, and it doesn't feel natural to me, kind of, and it becomes quite hard.
Yes.
It becomes like wading through mud. And I think like it's a sort of thing of, if you mean persona, if people try and find a persona by essentially just being like, oh, what attributes do I do that are quite funny?
Yes, yeah.
That I get. But I almost think sometimes that thinking about it does more harm than good. It depends on the person. If you can just like go on stage and just be like, oh, this sort of thing works and this sort of thing works, I don't think you have to think about it too hard. A lot of people starting out weren't like, oh, I need to find exactly out what my persona is.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And also now that I'm like, I don't know, I think I used to do a lot more like character-y stuff, like character comedy stuff. And now that I'm doing much more, I don't know, everything ever since I transitioned, that I can be much more like open about like myself and everything to do with that.
Right, yeah.
I think since then, I've just like, instead of being like, oh, I'm going to do this, or I need to deliver the joke in this way, I'm just like, you know what, I'm just going to go on stage and say it, and it'll work or not work.
Yes, yeah.
And like, I can trust in the fact that I am funny.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the confidence of knowing like you're a funny person, and maybe it won't work, but you can say stuff and people will find it funny. And I think that applies to a lot of people as well. It's just knowing, you know, in your friendship group, like when you say a joke, how do you say it? Like, do you say it in this way? Do you say it in this way and stuff? It's like if I try to be very deadpan or whatever, it doesn't come across well. So, because you're just like,
yeah,
don't buy it.
I think as well, it can be kind of a reflex to sort of hide behind something like that, which creates so much more distance between you and the audience, I think.
Yeah.
It kind of takes away from your ability to reach them.
Yeah. Also, it's like, when people try and make personas, they often make personas based on comedians that they've seen. Because they've seen, like...
Yes.
I don't know, Ramesh Ranganathan be like an angry dad or whatever.
Yeah.
Or they've seen, I don't know, James Acaster be kind of quirky oddball at the end of a panel show and like that sort of thing. So it's like, they automatically put themselves into a box of previous people, which is sometimes useful if you want to like help, you know, in joke structures and things, and being like, oh, what sort of tone works for me? But you don't want to do that so much that you lose the individual aspect of you that probably makes you unique.
Yeah, it's one of those things, it can be a good stepping stone, but yeah, you don't want to box yourself into it too much.
Yeah.
Do you find when you're performing then, mostly as yourself, do you find it tiring when you finish a gig, like it's a big social interaction, or is it kind of rejuvenating?
I think I probably find it less tiring, but it's still tiring.
Yeah.
I think like a big party wave to meet loads of new people would be much more tiring for me.
Yes.
Because I can just do the show. I know what words I'm going to say. I don't have to I have to be present, but it's like I can do bits. I can rely on bits where I'm like, I know that will work and that will work, and I can just do this. Whereas like if you're in a social interaction, you have to be the other person trying to adapt to like what their wavelength is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, say something could be interesting, do all these things where it's like, I don't know, I don't think I get that tired. And it's this idea of like a lot of like quite introverted people can do comedy or stage performance because it doesn't actually require loads of interaction. You know, like Bo Burnham being like super introverted.
Oh, 100%.
Because he's like, oh, I don't actually have to interact with you. I can just do my thing, maybe interact a bit or whatever if I want to, but it's on my terms.
Yeah, definitely. But I think now might be a good time if we lean towards the little break. So you sent me a song in advance, which is, well, would you like to introduce it?
Oh, yeah, I don't know how much of your audience is queer women, but it's Chappell Roan, who is basically like just a queer artist from America, and she's got a song called Good Luck Babe, and I like it because it's very sapphic and stuff.
Oh, it so is.
Yeah.
I'm a massive I'm sorry not to talk over your... I was like, would you like to introduce the song? And immediately, but I'm a massive Chappelle Roan fan. This is very new as well, isn't it? Good Luck, Babe.
Oh, it dropped like 2 days ago. Yeah. But I was like, oh my God, I love this.
Yes.
I want to show your listeners that I'm cutting edge. I'm the future. I'm the...
Absolutely, yeah. Also, it dropped the same time as JoJo Siwa's new song as well.
God.
Same day.
Oh, that's really funny.
Did, yeah.
I saw JoJo Siwa like doing the rounds on like TikTok and all these and being like, I've invented as a genre. No one's heard of it. It's called gay pop. And you're like, what? Have you heard pop? Like ever heard?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Music's silly, I guess. Yeah. Is that good? That's a terrible ending bit, but into the break of being like music's silly.
No, it's brilliant.
Thank you.
I'm gonna cut it off exactly there.
Fuck.
And yeah, here's Good Luck, Babe. Hello, welcome to the last middle section for this series, Ballpark Moment. So, unfortunately, I neglected to actually tell or break the news to Alex that I'm not actually going to be playing the song. I'm, as always, going to be delivering it in some sort of fashion. It kind of breaks my heart, too, because I love this song. It's very powerful, and it's telling the story of a queer woman, speaking to her ex-lover who is shying away from her own identity as a queer woman. And I'm about to fucking ruin it by delivering it. Not only that, it's also occurred to me that when you change the context to a guy reading out the lyrics, it suddenly comes across like an incel who's recently been broken up with, desperately slandering his ex-girlfriend. And I've decided the safest thing to do is to lean into that. So here we go. This is Good Luck, Babe by Chappelle Roan. I'm sorry, Chappelle, and I'm sorry, Alex. It's fine, it's cool. You can say that we're nothing, but you know the truth. And I guess I'm the fool, with our arms out like an angel through the car sunroof. I don't want to call it off, but you don't want to call it love. You only want to be the one that I call baby. You can kiss 100 boys in bars, shoot another shot, try to stop the feeling. You can say it's just the way you are, making you excuse another stupid reason. Good luck, babe. Well, good luck. Well, good luck, babe. Well, good luck. You'd have to stop the world just to stop the feeling. Good luck, babe. Well, good luck. You have to stop the world just to stop the feeling. I'm cliche, who cares? It's a sexually explicit kind of love affair, and I cry. It's not fair. I just need a little loving. I just need a little air. I think I'm gonna call it off, even if you call it love. I just want to love someone who calls me baby. When you wake up next to him in the middle of the night with your head in your hands, you're nothing more than his wife. And when you think about me all those years ago, you're standing face to face with, I told you so. You know, I hate to say it, but I told you so. You know, I hate to say it, but I told you so. You can kiss 100 boys at bars, shoot another shot, try to stop the feeling. Well, I told you so. You can say it's just the way you are, making you excuse another stupid reason. Good luck, babe. You'd have to stop the world just to stop the feeling. Also, okay, I'm sorry about that. Please take me back, or at least if you don't take me back, after you blocked me when I tried to contact you through your smart TV, it's also somehow caused me to lose access to my Netflix account. And I really wanted to watch I'm pretty sure there's Scott Pilgrim on there now, and that's one of my favorite movies. It was our favorite movie. You know, you were my Ramona, but I actually don't care about that anymore. But also, please unblock me from the smart TV. I promise I won't message you on there anymore. I need the Netflix account. Thank you. All right, that was Good Luck, Babe by Chappelle Roan. Back to the show.
Also, am I making sense / talking good?
Yes, you are.
Oh, nice. Hooray.
No, this is great.
Okay.
I mean, you said at the beginning, like, worried about talking too much, which is literally not an issue at all. Like, the more the better.
Oh, sick. Fair enough.
The more I can sit back in silence and occasionally go, yeah, this is great. So.
I'm worried if I don't leave a gap, this will end up with just like me being like 2 hours of talking. And then you'll be like, the only question you would have asked would be like, how are you? And I'll be like, any point, always just cut me off and just be like, I want to talk about something different. And I'll be like, yeah, you know what's there.
Yeah, I invited you on this podcast to talk about your sports career, but that's a good little bit of a stand-up.
Oh my god. Did you see the video I sent over? Because there's like a joke.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Oh my god. Oh, that wasn't intentional. I wish it was. No. The women's rugby.
And I will dominate it. No, it's like, yeah, no. Oh, I love doing that bit. It's longer in normally, but I'll prefer set or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, that I don't know. I think it's just a funny vibe. And also like it's just every trans woman I know, they look like if you flick them, they would shatter into like a million pieces. They didn't like
Yes.
uh
I feel slightly weird affirmatively saying, yes, trans women are shatterable.
I could shatter trans women. I could go around flicking it, shattering all their bones with all my flicks, and I've got 10 fingers to shatter. No.
No, definitely. And I love the visual gags towards the ends of that set as well with the slides.
Oh my god, yeah.
I very much lost it when you got to the sort of silhouettes. I mean, you'll hear this in a bit, but the silhouettes where by the end they were just all chairs.
Oh my god, yeah.
It's very much up my alley. When about is that set from?
I think I did that in, I'll say March, I think is when it was recorded. But like I did it, I've done it in a few places and stuff. I think I first did it in like November, and then every now and again I'll just do it at a gig. I'll bring it to a gig often if I'm like, I want to do well at this gig.
Right.
And it fits the room because sometimes the room's too big, or sometimes the crowd is seated weird, so it doesn't quite work. Even the one I sent over, the crowd isn't the best in terms of the seating because it's like it's like in a kind of a slightly around and some people on the side, so I had to like show it around. The ideal is that it's just front on because then I can just do this. That's what works better.
Yes, of course, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm interested. So I found you, but because I asked my good friend Arthur of Sketch Troupe Specific Cabbage.
Yeah.
I basically flat out asked him to plug this show to people, and huge legend that he is, he like immediately got back to me the next day. He didn't tell me much about how you guys knew each other.
I did a gig and he watched it and he was like, I think he just
okay.
called me afterwards.
Yeah.
And then also he knew my director for some reason because I think they met at a friend, just like chatting and things. And then he was like, hey, do you want to like have a meet up and talk about, can I ask you some questions about like comedy and stuff like that? And I was like, yeah, sure.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't know, I think it'd be quite a obtuse industry. And I remember trying to get into it and it's hard to figure out what you're supposed to do and what's kind of accepted, not accepted in terms of like, I don't know, like email etiquette and all these. I like the idea of like you're actually supposed to reach out a lot more than I think people know.
Yes, networking is such a huge thing with it.
Yeah, so I was like, you know what? I mean, I have this like attitude of just like it's always nice to meet with people because it opens the door a little more, a little wider for everyone.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, sort of one of the main goals of the show really is, I think, I'd like at least a few people listening to be like, oh, this was something I was interested in, but I was a little nervous about it. But, you know, stand-up/musical comedian Alex Franklin said it seemed cool, so I'm going to give it a shot.
Yay.
It's the vibe.
And then one day we can be on like a gig together, and then they'll say, oh, I listened to this thing. And then they'll do a set, and I'll say it was terrible. They should give it up. Give it up for good.
That's a direct quote, by the way. If you're listening to this and you think you might be getting into stand-up, you know, you think you got something, give it up.
Give it up.
You've got nothing.
Give it up. I'm already there. I've done it all. I've taken it, I'm afraid. There's no more.
What was your progression like into it then? You said you got into it semi-late, stage stuff in general. How did you start? How did you get to here?
I guess probably not late. It's late for the people I was around, but I think most people start comedy like in their like late 20s. I started university because there was a comedy group called the Cambridge Footlights.
Yes.
And they did shows. And I was like, yeah, why not? I'll do some stuff. And then auditioned and I got nothing. But eventually started getting stuff. There was a whole issue in terms of how it was run and things. There's like an article in The Guardian that happened. It was like a whole thing.
Right.
But yeah, I started just doing that. And I remember I did the first, they have these nights called Smokers, which are like comedy nights. And I did one, I think the first one I did was essentially like BME Smoker. So it was just like to encourage more people from diverse backgrounds to get involved in comedy and stuff. And I did it and it went really, really well. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'm pretty good at this. And then in second year, as kind of a why not sort of thing, I entered the Chortle Student Comedy Awards thing.
Oh, Chortle, yes.
Yeah. And so that was probably like my first, I entered with this like weird kind of charactery bit. It doesn't quite make sense, to be honest, but it's like, I did on a whim, and I think the Heat was like essentially my first gig that had like a compare, and it wasn't like a
oh wow,
yeah, there wasn't like a sketch show sort of thing or whatever. So I did that, and then it went weirdly well, and I got to like the final of that, and I was like, oh okay, you know what? I guess I am pretty good at this. I can probably try and do this more, and it just kind of escalated from there. And also I was like, I did like a science degree. I wanted to have something like a better outlet for like creativity as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I guess lockdown happens, it slows stuff down, and then straight out of lockdown, started doing more gigs and just started developing stuff in there. I actually I started doing shows way too quickly, but it's because I don't really believe in the whole idea of being like, wait until you the perfect moment to do something. Where I'm like, oh, I actually just want to get better,
Oh yeah.
and then once I get better, I'll get better like faster, and then I can do something that is in my eyes perfect or whatever, quote unquote, because I think it's a foolish thing to aim for sometimes. But I'd rather do that in terms of getting the practice in, because I think I've always felt a bit behind that sort of thing. At least the people around me at university, even though
Yeah.
I'm still like quite young.
I fully agree. I think probably waiting for the perfect moment is just never really going to happen.
Yeah.
Almost like what you're saying about crafting personas. It's very easy to like put a lot of steps in front of yourself.
Yeah.
To be able to like, and then once I've done all this, then I'll be able to become a comedian and hit success immediately, which obviously isn't how it works. You just kind of have to start doing shit and playing around.
Yeah. No, death. Yeah, it's very much that vibe of just like playing around and things. Being like, because I wouldn't have been, I'm pretty confident in like I don't know how I am on stage now, but it's also, I mean, it's also a thing of just like, I needed to figure stuff out about myself. And like, when you're in your early 20s, you don't quite know what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, you're trying to sort of slowly kind of just deal with life as well. So I think to put pressure and be like, I'll be at this point in 5 years or whatever, I think is a bit of an unnecessary thing to do. And I don't think it ever goes well. Unless it's like, I will finish this like medical degree or something maybe.
Right, yeah.
But like, I think most of the time, like any plan that's like, oh, by 5 years I'll be at this point is often a bit. It might work, but I think for comedy it can be a bit out of whack.
Yeah, especially because growth in this industry is so kind of random a lot of the time, I think. I mean, obviously not completely, not to negate, putting in hard work and things.
Oh no, but it is.
Yeah.
It's the sort of thing like I should do more social media, but I've had like vids go viral that I didn't even think the set was like that good, kind of. And in the room it did okay at best. And then like for some reason that clip in that particular way just does well. Whereas another bit I'm like, this is meticulous and this is good and it kills the room or whatever. I'll put it on social media and they'll get like a few hundred views back. I'm like, what the fuck? I got like millions to level one. There is random to it. And it's also who is at a gig, who you bump into. I don't like to think about networking that much. It's that thing of being like, if you think about it, it won't.
Yes.
It won't work because you're trying too hard. Whereas like I prefer to just like get to know people and talk to people and things. But it's like there is an element of like you talk to certain people and that's how you get certain gigs and things, and that's how you get certain exposure and all these sorts of things.
Yeah, 100%. I mentioned earlier my friend Arthur, who is brilliant at this stuff. He's brilliant at networking because networking in itself isn't something that he thinks about, I think.
Yeah.
He's just very personable and he's just very interested in people. And I think that comes across so well. He's great to talk to. Whereas you do meet some people, especially at Fringe and things, who are very clearly cynically networking at you. And it's always a slightly uncomfortable experience.
Yeah. That's the thing. It never works. You're actually just like, oh, this is awkward. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we could work together in the future. And then you're like, they leave and you're like, who was that guy?
Yeah.
It's an odd thing. I don't know if you've ever been to like those like networking events they have for like businesses, which they're so adamant about having because they like to dress everything up.
Yeah.
In terms of like ceremony, but yeah, they're so awkward and they never work and they're just quite weird. I feel. Yeah,
100%. Especially in this industry, I think when so many. I just say something quite pretentious. I think just we're all just people, but lots of people doing this are. For starters, I'm pretty sure everyone I've had on this show, at least to me, has seemed neurodivergent in some way.
Oh god, yeah.
I think
that's no fair.
Like,
yeah,
I don't think many of us are super like business minded, at least in terms of this.
No, there is a growing realization that everyone who does comedy has, it seems, ADHD or autism.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, oh my god, Piano Valley is like great bit about being like, I just saw a show in Edinburgh and I just think he's so funny.
Oh,
but
brilliant.
he's like, he does this. I don't know the boy at all. I've never met him. But the show he did is basically about his autism diagnosis. And then he does this whole bit about like, what if comedy is just making fun of neurodivergent people? And it turns out it's actually a horrible practice. And then we need to shut it down. And I'm like, oh fuck, maybe he's right. Maybe he is right.
Yeah. No, definitely. Again, as well, like, I think, sorry, I'm trying to word out how to word what I actually think.
Yeah.
It blows my mind a lot when people talk about comedians being, I mean, obviously for such a long time, the most central comedians have just been average cis white guys, and people talking about, oh, I can't relate. But to me, one of the most exciting things about it is seeing all these different identities talk about things. Especially, I think comedians I've gravitated towards my whole life have tended to be people with different life experiences to me, where there's some like relatability crossover.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so common to see so many of the comedians I interact with are queer and or neurodivergent or from some kind of interesting background. And yeah, it's just a lot more interesting, I think, than hearing the same stories and jokes over and over again.
Yeah, no, definitely. I never believed the idea of like, oh, in order to do comedy, you have to be like relatable or whatever. And I think that's like another one of those things people fall into, because it's like, that's not really how it works. Like, if you think about times you've laughed at things, it's not always because they've just said something that you know.
Yeah.
It's not like just referencing. It's like they've described something silly about themselves or some specific scenario they were in or their viewpoint on a thing. And it's often like really unique.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, yeah. Sorry. Brain kind of ran out of track there. I'm so glad. This used to be, when I started doing this, it was like probably about a year ago on my uni radio. And so it was like live, and it was hell breaking through these pauses, where it's so nice now to just be like, yeah, I could just not say anything for 5 minutes and it doesn't matter.
I'm just answering yes or no questions now. I'll just be like, yes, no, yes, no.
That's brilliant, actually. I can fill those. If you had to dash off, I could just sample out those yeses and nos and put them in answer to some questions later.
Oh, no, fuck. You make me admit some like horrible crime, like I like committed arson to an orphanage or whatever.
Yeah, see, I mean, that was a good example of not necessarily relatable to me. Made me laugh. So, whereas for you, it's a personal experience.
I hope it's not something you're like, we've all been there. We've all been doing that.
I want to talk a bit about, so you talked a bit about like the material in your shows and things like that, and how you're quite open, like talking about, you know, yourself in general, really, in your material. Do you have much of a like strict thing on boundaries of what you bring on stage?
As in, like, stuff that I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. There probably is some stuff, but it's not like, I wouldn't naturally go to it anyway, I think.
Right.
Unless I wanted, if I made an active decision to talk about it, I'm like, I am talking about it. Because, like, I'm like past trauma and things like that. If I want to bring it up, I bring it up for a reason. Otherwise, it just like, I'd want to do a refined version of any sort of thing that feels important. Oh, I guess talking about other people, I sometimes feel I probably wouldn't do. I like obviously anonymize certain people, but I also like anonymize actions. Like if you just like mix certain things together, it doesn't become clear that it's like the people who know you will know that you're talking about this ex-girlfriend or this ex-boyfriend or whatever. Yeah. Oh, it's clear that you're taking certain artistic liberties, and it sounds a bit more fine. But yeah, I don't think I personally wouldn't do any set that would make someone else look bad. Unless they were like a complete stranger or something.
Right, yeah.
They can look a bit hapless, or like there's a misunderstanding or miscommunication, or like they do something a bit insane. That's fine, but I think if they look like a bad person, I feel like I'm potentially misrepresenting them, and it's also like I'm saying it and I don't get a chance to respond, especially if it's over something petty, so I would never do that. That would probably be the line for me. Or I'd get consent. If I don't think I could get consent from them on it, then I probably wouldn't.
Yeah, that makes sense. Did you ever, I mean, you mentioned feeling pretty confident about it. Have you ever done a set and felt kind of, oh, that was pretty close to the bone? Or, are you generally pretty confident about the stuff you talk about?
Yeah, I don't think I talk about, I feel like I'd be confident talking about two people I know, and then I'm like, a lot of the time it's fine. Having said that, I did just do a gig on Tuesday and did just talk for like 4 minutes about an ex-girlfriend, but like in a funny way. It was a funny way, I swear.
Yeah.
It was just like,
a likely story.
Oh my god, it was like, it's this whole breakup thing, because it's like, basically, when we broke up, again, okay, so they're like a dear friend now and love them to death, but when we broke up, one of the reasons they said was I stick my tongue out too much, and my entire life, I've never stuck my tongue out, and I think I've ever been like broken up with about something that isn't true, that just like can't, because you can't be like, no.
Yeah.
You can't call them a liar. So you have to just be like, yes, I guess we have to live in this reality for some reason, where this is apparently an ick that I have, which I didn't know I have and doesn't exist. But yeah, I just thought for like a few minutes about that because I thought it was funny. And also she doesn't come out that bad in that. And she's also very, very lovely. And also if I talk about anyone and it's like they could come across bad, I'll probably go out of my way to talk about all their positive traits beforehand as well or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm in that position. But yeah, that's good. I mean, do you feel like you've always been like that, or did it take a while to kind of reach confidence with that sort of stuff?
More in terms of like boundaries and stuff.
Yes, yeah.
No, I think internally, if anything, I was a bit too cautious at the point. Like, I didn't used to talk about my life that much on stage, and now I'm like much more like, oh, that's fine. I can talk about my life, not for any boundary reasons. I just thought it's like, oh, maybe it just won't work, or maybe people won't find it that interesting. And then after speaking to people, no, people are fine. People are like, I don't know. I think I live quite a silly life, and I think people enjoy that. I don't think it was any issue of like, oh, I've said something before and it's gone bad, because I don't think I would naturally gravitate towards that. Or in the past, I would just do like a character bit where I'm like, I'm a dinosaur for 5 minutes or whatever. So there was no. It would be weird if I brought up like friendship drama as like a triceratops or whatever, to be like, I don't know, to be like, Will doesn't do the dishes. And
Career over.
yeah, that's my vibe. I think it'd be unlikely I'd get in trouble for something.
Right, yeah. That's a good place to be.
Yeah, if anything, I think my main issue is I'm probably too, not antagonistic, but I'm so willing to just like chat shit about, I guess, public figures or like people in the audience. I'll just have a full on conversation with them because I think it's funny.
Yeah.
Or whatever. If anything, that's going to end up with something bad's going to happen to that. But no, but everything else, still.
Yeah, that makes sense. This is kind of a broad, slightly tangential question, but doing this a while now, you've had like good success with it, you're very confident with it. What kind of things would you say to, I don't know, people might be listening to this, maybe student sort of age, who are like, oh, is this for me? Can I do this? You know, they're curious.
Oh, God. No, I had success, but I've had some success, I guess. I don't know. It feels weird to me like, I've had success. I guess I've had stuff. I've done bits. But like, yeah, I guess I'd say you don't have to do it. You don't want to.
Right, yeah.
But also, it's not a big deal if you do it. Like, I think you don't have to weigh it up that much. You can just have a regular job and just do comedy stuff as well. And then if it starts going well, it starts going well. Most comedians have a full-time job that they did and maybe were doing even when they were still making it quite big. I think like Olga Koch literally was like still a data scientist who went on Mock Week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that big a deal. And then also, if you do it because you feel like, oh, I need to express myself, it's the only way, or like you're in a setting where like everyone else doing it, like you don't have to do it. Like the best way to win the game is to not play sometimes.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
And then also you should only do it if you enjoy it and stuff, I think. But in terms of like, I guess getting started, I don't think what's good advice. I guess write jokes. That's quite like a not in like a rude way, but like people don't write jokes sometimes.
Yeah.
You see people at like open mics and you're like, that wasn't just talk for 5
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
Like you seem nice, but you did just talk. Like
Yeah.
Write a joke and try and do something that's interesting, even if it's gonna fail. Interesting and bad is better than boring and okay, because interesting and bad
Yes.
you learn more. Boring okay is like the most generic safe option. Like, oh, fair, I guess. Also, there's a myth. Okay, I think it's a myth, but for some people it's good. A lot of people are like, you have to gig every night to get really, really good. I am a big believer in you should not gig every night because it's insane.
Yeah.
You won't improve. You'll just be tired. Also, you won't change anything from gig to gig, so it doesn't matter. Like, you won't get any better. It's like, if you ever played like a video game, and it's like, in order to get really good at a video game, you actually have to think about what you're doing. But you could just like button mash and just be like, oh, I guess I'm just doing this and go into autopilot. To me, gigging every single day is like playing video games for like 12 hours a day on autopilot. It doesn't actually help. Whereas if you actually want to get good at a video game, you actually have to like study the theory and stuff. And I have like a weird esports background that I'm like, a lot of analogies are through that. But like, I think do as many gigs as like you can do another gig and you can change stuff for it, and you want to test things and see how that changes things. Do as many as you want to. If you really want to get like confident on stage, I guess get a set and do a few in a row. But you don't have to do one every day. I think people do that are insane.
Yeah.
And I tried that for a bit and I was like, this doesn't help me. When you're starting out, it's so tempting to sign up to every open mic. But some of them are just bad. Some of them you just shouldn't do because they don't have an audience, just comedians. It's not worth it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Is that good advice? That's like just a bunch of advice.
Oh, I think it's good. I think I tend to agree as well, especially with I don't know exactly what it was you said. Not a big deal. That's it. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
I think it helps massively because, especially if it's something you're passionate about, which is what a lot of people do comedy, even as a hobby, I think, it's something that's important to you. I think there's a tendency to be like, this is everything, and I have to give everything to this, and if it doesn't go well, then I've fucked up.
Yeah.
But I think treating it as, this is fun, and I'm going to play, and if it doesn't go well, it doesn't go well, it's just a set, it's just a gig.
Yeah.
I think is the best attitude to, A, be more productive and do better, but B, also, not feel like shit.
Yeah. No, exactly. It doesn't help anyone to feel bad after doing bad at a gig.
No.
Like, you just feel, I don't know, you feel bad about yourself, but it's not worth it. And it's other people putting pressure on you to do well. Ignore them. I don't know. Just think about yourself, what's actually helped you improve, and let your anxieties settle. Yeah, I think it's the vibe. I guess also no, I can't say that. I was gonna be like, don't do this specific joke that everyone does, but I was like, I know people do that joke, so I can't fucking be like, don't do that one. Every fucking white guy does the same joke about their appearance or whatever. They're always just like, I look like this person. And you're like, they never fucking do. They never do.
Yeah.
I don't know, stuff like that. Just be interesting and say something that's unique, and I don't know, be yourself. Just vibe it. I think it's not a big deal, and most open mics also suck in terms of they're also really long and things as well. So don't stress yourself out too much.
That's very conclusive. I like that. Yeah, I think now might be a good time. So we talked a bit earlier about the set you're about to hear. You sent me a YouTube link, but I'm pretty sure it's an unlisted thing, right?
Yeah.
So this is an exclusive, which you're about to hear. But yeah, I mean, you talked a bit about it already, but would you like to set it up a bit?
So basically, I don't know, this is just like a set I did somewhere. Yeah, it's good. It's good. I'm funny. I don't know, I kind of killed this gig. Man, they lapped me up. I was so funny. I had to stop short because I had a bunch of plans that I was going to do in terms of longer stuff, but I ran out of time, so I couldn't do half of them. So yeah, they loved me. They loved me, and hopefully
they
you will too. Yeah, and then it's like a few minutes, and then there's this point where I do this game thing where there's a bunch of slides. You can't see the slides because this is audio, but imagine the funniest image you can think of, I guess, and that's what I did.
Yeah, it is very good. I mean, you're speaking somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but it is a very good set.
Oh, thank you.
And the audience response to it is very good. But without further ado then, I guess here it is.
Please put your hands together. Your first set of this section of feminists. One of them gives it Alex Franklin!
Hello, you guys good? Oh, yippee! Hello, my name is Alex. I'm what happens if the Liberals get their way. So, for those who don't know, I am a trans girl. Some say 2 trans girls in a row should be good luck in some cultures, but I mean, not this culture, but like, cool. If you don't, I realize Jen didn't really clear it up, but if you don't know what a trans girl is, it basically means I used to be a boy, but then I didn't eat enough red meat as a child, and thus one thing led to another. Also, I am half Chinese, so no woo for that. Fine. You know what? Yeah, to be fair, the CCP is pretty bad. But you might wonder, like, trans and half Chinese, how do these 2 things manifest? Well, not much, apart from it basically means that if someone were to call me a Chinaman, it'd be a hate crime on 2 different fronts! Yeah. And I admire the efficiency. I recently, a lot of people ask, they're like, Alex, why did you transition? And it's a very personal question, and it varies from person to person. But I guess for me, the question is like, well, why would someone go through all those hormones and those medical appointments and unpacking that internal turmoil and trauma that you might have built up inside of you? And I don't know about for others, but for me, it's because I really felt the need to dominate women's Olympic rugby. I sensed my incredibly large stature and thought I could best, nay, not just some, but all women in physical combat. Also, I don't know why people get so like fussed about trans women in sport, because like not to stereotype trans women, but we suck at sport. Like, it's like there's like two main types of trans women. There's like computer programmer or people who make 4-hour video essays on YouTube. There's like nothing in between. In school, I was in the under-14J team for rugby, and we couldn't play the team above because it was considered too dangerous, and we couldn't play the team below because, and this is just generally true, half them had osteoporosis. We weren't legally allowed. You know, a lot of turfy people get really obsessed with like trans women in the sport. It's because they have this idea of like, oh, body type, and it's kind of wrong because basically everything's a spectrum in biology, and this is an idea. I'm gonna have to move this here because I'm gonna bring the laptop up. That's like, it's an idea that they don't fully understand. It's like one sort of common transphobic trope is the idea that's like, oh, you can always tell when someone is trans based on like the way they look and their form and their silhouette, and that's empirically not true. But assuming it was, we're now going to play a fun game, which is it's gonna seem edgy, but I swear it's not because it's fine. Okay, it's going to be a theme for this evening. It's called Male or Female: A Bathroom Inspection by J.K. Rowling. Which of these two people would you say is a regular man? I'm gonna go a woos for number one. Okay. Woos for number two. Progressive. Good, very good. I like you. In this case, you're unfortunately wrong. This is, I guess, the quotation marks, regular man. In this case, regular man. Number two. Which of these would you say is a regular man? Number one. Okay, number two. Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, this is my grandma. Except having said that, I actually asked if I could put her in this PowerPoint and she said no, so this is just a generic Asian old woman. So I am sorry. And the second one, you weren't quite right on that one. That is two kids in a trench coat. So two kids in a trench coat, I'm afraid. Which of these would you say is a regular man? Number one? Yeah! Number two? Yeah! Number three? Okay, number one, I don't know if number one, this is just like a blob, but number one that is incorrect. That is the hole from Hole in the Wall. This also you weren't quite correct. That is a chair, I'm afraid. That is a chair. And this one is a second chair, I'm afraid. So
trying to think about how to I'm trying to get away from I keep doing sort of stock phrases every time I come back from something. I keep saying like, and we're back. Like, I don't know, we just played the weather at a local radio station.
Do you want me to do it? Can I do that?
Yes, go ahead. Oh, by all means, go ahead.
Alright, we're back, bitch! Let's go! Where are we dropping, boys?
Fuck yeah! We ballin'.
Let's go! Okay, sorry.
This episode is brought to you by Fortnite.
Brought to you by Fortnite. Sponsored by fucking Tomato Town or whatever. I don't know.
I'm gonna have to Google if I can say that, actually. Alright, I'll find out. If I got sued by Fortnite, it would probably be more clout for me than anything, really.
I'd love that if there's like, if Fortnite took a lawsuit with a small podcast for mentioning it.
I hope they do. Well, we'll see. But yeah, that's a good set. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to hear more, would you like to drop some plugs?
Oh, yeah. I guess I can drop my socials and stuff. I guess, like...
No.
Instagram, Twitter... Well, then I won't. You made your bed, Patrick.
Please.
You're gonna lie.
No, I'm sorry. Please.
Right, no.
Please.
Unsubscribe. If you follow me, unfollow me. I'm no bad.
Please.
I guess, okay. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I'm on all of them. If you look up Alex Franklin, I'll probably turn up. On Insta, I think it's Alex Franklin Hello, and I think on TikTok and Twitter, it's a Wild Alex. But you also, again, just look up Alex Franklin. Having said that, the two most prominent Alex Franklins on Twitter are, I guess, me and this right-wing, super transphobic Republican man from America who's like in a suit all the time. And I'm like, it feels like my evil doppelganger from like the other side of the realm, like a mirror version of me.
At least it'll make it clear, I guess, if you get the wrong one.
Yeah. If I start suddenly tweeting about, I don't know, immigrants or whatever, or like about how the vaccines are all a lie, then that's probably not me. That's probably the other one.
All right, just keep an eye out for that.
That's cool. And then I guess, if you want to come see, I'm doing a show called Girl Code.
Yes.
It's about trans joy, and it's lovely and hilarious, dare I say. But it's I don't know, it'll be in places. I don't know where you live as a listener. As a listener, send me your address, and I will come to you specifically. Do a show.
A live performance.
Yeah.
I mean, I recently had a friend of mine who's a YouTuber on, and he's got an audience kind of all over the place, and it wildly screwed my demographics.
Oh my God.
So I'd be careful with that, because otherwise you might soon be having to start making some trips to like Poland. I think there's a couple in Beijing.
Oh, man. Oh no. That's so far. That's so far. Wait, who's the YouTube person? Can I?
Yeah, I'll give them another free plug. Cambrian Chronicles. They do Welsh history, but sort of do some comedic things in their videos.
Okay, if you're listening to this, leave a bunch of hate comments under the Cambrian comment saying Alex was here and Alex thinks you're a coward. I want to start inciting too. Actually, no, say Isabel thinks you're a coward. I'm gonna like do a little snaky move.
Oh, that's
of,
clever.
Like,
that's real Machiavellian. I like that.
Aha. Fundamentally, I'm a snake, Patrick. That's one of my main characteristics. I'm sneaky to my core. I'm mischievous and impish.
That's beautiful. Women's rugby will never know what hit him.
I'm just like, I won't be good at the physical stuff, but I'll do stuff like throw pocket sand in their eye.
Yeah.
I'll be like...
I definitely gotta play that stand-up clip now, because if I play the gun mouse one instead, that comment's gonna be really fucking bizarre.
You're like, whoa, Patrick, that's not how trans women work. Whoa, what kind of transphobic bullshit are you trying to know?
Got the wrong Alex Franklin on. Which I gotta make sure I get right because I'm gonna obviously put all the plugs in the episode notes. I'm gonna be really fucking careful putting that Twitter in there.
Oh my God, please actually get the other guy on the podcast next though. Like he makes some jokes, I guess, that evil Alex Franklin. He can just get him talking about something. I want to start a feud.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll send Isabel his way.
Nice, good. Please do.
But yeah, perfect with that. I don't need to plug anything because you're listening to it. So with that, yeah, I've been Patrick. My guest has been Alex Franklin.
Yay.
And I'll see you next week.
I won't.
The
Bye,
hell?
everyone.
I thought you were coming on every episode after this one. I thought that was the deal.
Okay, but I'll be back. I'll be back I'll just be like, a little 5-minute segment where I tell the guests that I'm in a feud with them.
Perfect. A little guest spot. A little hatred guest spot.
That is good. I'm sorry to drop your goodbye. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Yeah, bye. That's good. Thank you for making it all the way to the end of the series. Oh my god, there's going to be more. Probably about a month. I don't know for sure. Probably about a month. Oh god, I'm going to run out of time if I start doing that. The Instagram for the show is @neversfunny, all one word, all lowercase. The music used in the intro and the outros, there it is, by Kevin MacLeod and Comtech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0, license HTTP, creativecommons.org/licenses/by/4.0. See you in a little while.